Good evening and welcome to the show. This is Prime Time on RT, your to-go-to show for local news. My name's Anya Fedra.
Yes, my name is Neil Harvey, and you have no idea. Try to think about it. You're not thinking hard enough. How pleased I am to see you. We've got the
pleased.
Got all the top stories, even more, all the top stories from today in the world of news and of business and entertainment, and they're all coming up for you. Let's take a look. Launch into nowhere. An unmanned Russian rocket loaded with navigation satellites crashes just a minute after taking off and engulfing the accident site in clouds of toxic gases, as well as sparking fears of an environmental disaster.
Transatlantic book battle. Russia is suing the United States over its refusal to return books from the famous Schneerson collection of old and sacred Jewish texts. The details on the way with me, Roman Kotara.
Around 10,000 people jailed for economic crimes will soon walk free under a draft law just passed by the State Duma.
And Edward Snowden rejects Russia's asylum condition that he stops working against Washington as his options begin to run out one by one.
Packed programme ahead. All of that's heading your way within the next hour. Here's our top story for the day, though. Russia's Prime Minister has demanded a list of those responsible for a space rocket crash in Kazakhstan on Tuesday morning. Seconds after takeoff, the unmanned rocket fell to the ground and exploded within the Baikonur Cosmodrome.
Yes, it was carrying 3 satellites meant for Russia's GLONASS global navigation system. And Primetime's Medina Kochner has all the details for us.
It was quite a shocking morning for those at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Now, the Russian Proton rocket, which was carrying 3 GLONASS satellites, went out of control moments after launching, and the main part of the rocket erupted in a massive fireball, and then the smaller parts of the rocket crashed onto an inhabited area, and clearly that was a massive accident, and it might be followed by some huge environmental impact. Now, experts say that the rocket was carrying in total about 600 tons of fuel, not to mention, of course, the satellites that were filled with toxic fuel. However, experts also say that while reaching the Earth, the fuel mostly vaporized, but still it created a cloud of dangerous pollutants. So all that information is really getting the officials quite worried, and there were even fears of a possible evacuation, as there were reports that some of the workers at the Baikonur Cosmodrome had already been evacuated. So clearly it is a very troubling situation, and the sad news is that it is indeed not the first failure of this type of a rocket. Now, the program has suffered a number of failures in the past 2.5 years. In particular, back in 2010, 3 other navigation satellites were lost in the Pacific Ocean due to a rocket launch failure. And of course, later in 2011, and here I'm talking about the Progress rocket failure. So it is really, a lot of failures are following these years, but all these accidents are also, well, they also come with quite a huge financial losses. Now, I need to mention here that the launch of a rocket, the launch of a single rocket, costs somewhere around $100 million, and experts say that the failure of it could hit up to $200 million in total loss. Some huge figures for you. Now, the Russian Space Agency has been changing in the last couple of years, and we have seen resignations, we've seen people being fired, and clearly there is some restructuring process going on within the agency. Now, in particular, back at the end of 2012, the head of the Russian space systems, and he was also leading the GLONASS project, resigned after quite a massive corruption scandal. Now, at the same year, back in 2012, the head of a construction facility also resigned following another rocket launch failure. So clearly some restructuring process is going on within the agency. But of course, the most important thing now is get to the bottom of what happened today at the Baikonur Cosmodrome.
Just 5 minutes into the hour, we've just started here on Primetime. Here's what else is coming up. Find out why Russia's prisons are about to let lots of convicted criminals walk free.
And if that doesn't scare you, how about this? We'll learn about the overdue library books. We've all had them, and they've become a bit of a cause of tension between Russia and the United States.
Before we bring you all the details on those stories, though, let's delve into the world of business. Paul Scott's with us in the studio. Hi, Paul. Good to see you.
Hello. Welcome, Paul.
How are you? You okay?
Yeah.
Better than okay. Fantastic.
Good.
And even then, I think I'm underplaying it.
Can I just say this is the first time I've been with you guys since we started using these.
These are weird, aren't they?
It's a cross between Star Trek and McDonald's.
Yeah, I'm not sure what.
I always feel like someone's asking me for a double cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And I said no, just a microphone. Just
Do you like a cheese sauce?
Yeah.
No?
Very strange. Very strange.
Try not to let it put you off, although it is
it's
very
slightly disconcerting, but we'll carry on regardless. People jailed for economic crimes could soon walk free under a draft law just passed by the State Duma. It covers a variety of offences and has divided the public and the business community alike. First-time offenders who are released will be allowed to resume entrepreneurial activities. Primetime's Katie Pilbeam has more.
Draft law for amnesty for those convicted of economic crimes, which could lead to the release of around 10,000 prisoners and suspects. Now, the idea was spoken in favour of by Vladimir Putin at the St. Petersburg Economic Forum last month and is intended to be a more humanitarian approach, especially considering not all crimes are intentional in the world of business. Now, the amnesty, however, comes with conditions. It is for a first-time offence and if the person repays their debt. Now, economic crimes that qualify for the amnesty include insurance, business and bankruptcy fraud, money laundering, copyright breach and tax evasion, among others. Crimes with any connection to violence will not be pardoned, or certain crimes towards the state budget. Now, it's worth noting that jail tycoon Mikhail Khodorkovsky won't qualify for the amnesty as he's been convicted of multiple crimes. Now, the business community, understandably, is overjoyed about the law. Boris Totov, Ombudsman for Entrepreneurs' Rights, said it would be good for morals and ethics and further prosperity. But the bill is not without its critics either, including the head of the second largest lender here in Russia, VTB, Andrei Kostin, who suggested it was offering impunity to representatives of big business. So while there might be some animosity to amnesty, it could soon be the law of the land.
And there's strong evidence for insider trading in Russia. That's what the Federal Service for Financial Markets says it's got hold of. It says info from the inside played a big role in inflating Russian cosmetics giant Kalina's share value when Unilever acquired a controlling stake. The watchdog says insider trading led to several 100 million rubles being invested into Kalina's stock. The service has investigated 300 individuals to back up its claims. Unilever bought an 82% stake in Kalina in 2011 for $580 million. The deal's announcement helped push Kalina shares up 60%, with a 40% jump occurring in just one day. Billionaire Roman Abramovich has stepped down as head of parliament in the Russian region of Chukotka. That's in order to comply with a new law which bans Russian officials from owning assets abroad. The law came into force in May. Officials were given 3 months to get rid of their foreign assets or leave their posts. After Abramovich became a regional MP in 1999, he registered his oil trading firms in the region, and the taxes from their huge turnover supported the Chukotka economy. When he left, he promised to continue organising major business projects in the region. This year, Forbes ranked Abramovich Russia's 13th richest person with over $10 billion in assets. And let's take a look at the currencies. The central bank has decreased the ruble against both the US dollar and the euro by 10 and 25 kopecks respectively. As for the Russian markets, they ended the day mixed. The RTS is down less than 0.25%, while the MICEX is up just a notch. Avtovaz gained more than 2.5% despite announcing a 10% drop in sales in 6 months. And independent gas producer Novatek is up 4%. It's currently in talks to sell a 9% stake in its Yamal project. And to other news, 2 major Russian carriers, Trans-Aero and Lumiere, have formed a strategic partnership to help them compete with Aeroflot. It will operate as an alliance with a base at the Vnukovo airport in Moscow. The carriers plan to unite both their routes and ticket booking systems. Trans-Aero is a major international carrier, while Lumiere has a large number of domestic destinations. Aeroflot's passenger traffic exceeded 17 million people last year. The combined traffic of Trans-Aero and Lumiere was some 18 million. Both carriers increased the number of passengers by 25% last year. Now, most employees of truck giant KAMAZ will get a month off starting on Monday. The management says it's simply too hot to work inside its plants at this time of year. Only assembly line workers will get the holiday. Sales and service teams and accountants will have to continue going into the office. KAMAZ is the world's 16th biggest truck maker. It has 12 plants and employs more than 45,000 people. Now, the Ministry of Culture wants a quarter of all films screened in Russia to be homegrown come 2018. By then, it wants to see 90 films a year being made in Russia. That's up from 60 now. The Ministry also plans to increase the number of cinemas in the country by 45% over the next 8 years to reach 4,500 theatres. State financing of the local movie industry has grown from $17 million in 2000 to over $211 million this year. And finally, to football, the value of the Spartak FC brand now exceeds 60 million euros. According to PwC, it's the biggest in Russia. The value of a team brand is determined by match performance, the number of fans, and merchandise sales. Now, last year, Zenit was named the biggest Russian footy brand. Brand Finance ranked it 41st in the world with a value of 56 million euros. And according to Brand Finance's latest rating in May, the most valuable global team brand now is Bayern Munich, the Champions League winners. It's now worth $860 million, having added more than 100 million in just 1 year.
This might be a very stupid question, but mind you guys, it's coming from me, so that's okay. How do they estimate, just roughly, how much a football brand is worth? Do you know?
Well, it's...
yeah, it was in there somewhere.
It was in there somewhere.
Yeah,
You're right.
I
Match performance, the number of fans, and merchandise sales.
Okay.
So if they're performing badly on the pitch, that's going to affect it. If there aren't enough fans turning up, which is probably related anyway to the performance on the pitch.
The strangest thing about that was they said Zenit at 50-something million euros. Isn't that what they spent on just a couple of players? So how can they be worth that?
Well, it doesn't take into account turnover, I suppose. It's just match performance, the number of fans, and merchandise sales.
So that's really strange. You know, so a company could spend hundreds of millions of euros on players, and you would think that then they've got these assets, but it's not considered.
If it's financed by one individual, for example, it doesn't count under this ranking.
The brand.
And also, interestingly, Zenit was Russia's biggest footy brand, but 41st in the world. When you think the money's sloshing around Russian football,
they're constantly in trouble for like all the wrong. Well, yeah, they're in trouble for the right reasons, but in the headlines for the wrong ones. Their fans, their fans being really sort of non-open-minded, should we say, etc.
Racist, I think.
Yeah, racist is the right word.
Some people call them, yeah.
And he was trying to be diplomatic, but no, Neil.
Sorry, I don't have that in my repertoire.
Diplomacy.
They don't pay him for that.
They don't pay him enough for diplomacy.
Just read the news and I'm not a diplomat. Tell it how it is.
Fair enough.
Right, still it was interesting nonetheless. A little bit of everything in there. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
guys.
Paul.
See you soon.
Thanks a lot.
In his secret laboratory, Tim Kirby was able to build the world's most sophisticated robot, which unfortunately doesn't give a darn about anything. Tim's mission? To teach his creation why it should care about humans and world events. This is Why You Should Care. Watch only on RT.com.
Wealthy British scion Zach
markets, finance, scandal. Find out what's really happening to the global economy with Max Kaiser for a no-holds-barred look at the global financial headlines. Tune in to Kaiser Report on RT.
Minutes into the hour, you're watching Prime Time on RT. Here's what else we've prepared for you together with the team. Edward Snowden has changed his mind about seeking asylum here in Russia. We're going to bring you the latest on the whistleblower's search for a new home.
And Russia's online libraries have closed their doors, so to speak, by going on strike in order to protest against the new anti-piracy law.
A Russian transport helicopter has crashed into a hilltop in Siberia, killing at least 21 people, including children. The aircraft was said to be carrying 28 people, including a local politician and representatives of an investment company. The Polar Airlines chopper reportedly came down in strong winds and low visibility. Over 300 rescuers and 50 vehicles have been dispatched to the scene, but bad weather conditions are complicating the search operation. Officials say they've opened an inquiry into the case.
Moving on to other news, Russia wants America to return books from the disputed Schneerson Library collection. The US Library of Congress obtained 7 of them through an inter-library exchange program.
The Schneerson Library has remained a bone of contention for the two countries for many years. Primetime's Roman Kostyrev can tell us more, and that's my first question, Roman. When we say many years, how many years exactly has America been holding on to these books?
Well, for certain people, it's also almost a lifetime, or the beginning of one's life. It's been almost 20 years that the 7 books from the Schneerson collection that's over here in Russia went to Washington in this interlibrary exchange. So Russians have been trying to get it back for quite a while, since the American side have asked Russia to return the Russian portion of the Schneerson collection. And Russia, by the way, has the largest portion, numbering to thousands of manuscripts and books that are right here in Russia.
I suppose after arguing about missile defense shields and about adoption and about whistleblowers, it was inevitable they were eventually going to start arguing about library books, Russia and the US. I suppose it's finally come down to that. Earlier on, the US ordered Russia to pay an enormous sum of money in order to keep the library. Just explain to us why that was.
Well, Neil, this is certainly looks like a war, a transatlantic book war between Russia and the United States. And you're absolutely right. An American court, a district court in the District of Columbia, it ruled that Russia should pay $50,000 US per day, while the famous and sacred Schneerson collection is in Russia's hands. Obviously, Russian Foreign Ministry was not happy with that decision, to say the least, and saying that this ruling by the United States District Court has absolutely no legal international value. Concerning this collection and how it came to be possessed by Russia, well, Rebbe Itzhak Schneerson, he left the Soviet Union back in 1927 and took his collection with him at that time. And when he was in Poland, he was forced to leave the collection there after Nazi Germany occupied the country. So he left it there and left himself. So the collection was then taken to Germany and then confiscated by the Soviet army in 1945. And but Schneerson himself, he died in the United States in 1950, and in his will he didn't say anything in regards to his collection or its future or where it should be.
You've just mentioned that it's a sacred collection. Can you tell us a bit more about why it's so important?
Well, absolutely, that's right. I said it's sacred, and it's a sacred collection of books and manuscripts for Hasidic Jews. It consists, like I said, of books and manuscripts which were written at a grassroots level of this particular Hasidic movement by really famous and renowned Jewish thinkers and philosophers. Its center was in a place called Lubavitch in Russian Smolensk region, and like I said, it included really famous works going back to the grassroots level of the Chabad Lubavitch Hasidic movement, so which now exists both in Russia and the United States. It's a large group, has a lot of followers around the world.
Roman, where is this part of the library that is in Russia actually being kept?
Well, it's the library is owned by the state, but officials have already said that the library will be transferred, handed over to the Russian Hasids. Some books are now stored in the Russian military museum, military archive, and just recently at least 500 of those books were given to the Jewish Museum and the Tolerance Center. That will be opening a library there later on as well, and eventually transfer another over 4,000 more works from the Schneerson collection, which are now being scanned and categorized. So right now there are plans to scan at least 500 to 700 books a month. So they will be right there at the Jewish Center for everybody to look at or study.
Okay, thank you for the update. Our correspondent Raman Koysarov with the story for us. Thank you, Raman.
Traffic and illegal migration. That is what Sergei Sobyanin is focusing on in his bid to be re-elected mayor of Moscow. Sobyanin has vowed to banish migrants without passports or work papers from the capital. And he promises to build new roads, modernise public transport and even create more cycle lanes. The acting mayor also thinks that new Arbat is not new enough. He says he'll get rid of the tacky street ads and cheap summer cafes. The mayoral elections will take place in September. More than 30 hopefuls are expected to run, among them anti-corruption campaigner Alexei Navalny.
Russia's State Duma wants to spend 8.5 million rubles on a documentary dedicated to its 20th anniversary. The tender was announced today on the portal of state orders. This film should reflect the modern history of Russia through the developments of the lower house of parliament. It should contain 2D and 3D graphics, inform viewers about all Duma parties and relate deputies' attitude towards democracy. As for the Duma elections, the documentary will cover only the very first ones, back in December 1993. Wonder why? The film will be available in Russian and English. The winning project will be chosen in September. Russia's State Duma celebrates its 20th anniversary in December 2013.
Now, Russian e-libraries are staging a 24-hour protest against the country's anti-piracy law. They've gone offline for 24 hours. Anyone going to their websites will find only a message saying that the law infringes on freedom and a link to a petition against the law. This has already collected more than 70,000 signatures and still counting. But libraries with a subscription fee aren't taking part in the action. The new anti-piracy law targets video content. Under it, a site that refuses to remove copyrighted material can be blocked.
It's really worrying that the government is tapping so much into what's happening online. Well, it's tapping into a lot of things, but this is just, I think, the reason why so many Russians are using internet. It's number one across Europe, isn't it, by how many users and people are online. It used to be Germany, now it's Russia. And Russian is the second language after English when we talk about online presence in the world. Was because it was a free medium where people could speak out, find information and do business as well. Now, to me, it seems that most of the laws that have been passed are targeting those who have been making money, even legally, completely legally, but through advertising, for example.
So you don't think it's just about trying to stop people going on places like Vkontakte and watching films for free? You think it's something much more?
The problem with these laws, and this is what all the experts have been saying, is that they're so vague that in effect you can log on to a media platform, an online magazine, for example, and shut them down using these laws because they're opening doors to manipulate whoever you like.
Do you think it's
online.
freedom of expression then that's being clamped down on
yes,
here? Really?
Absolutely.
Right, well, we'll see. Well, we're still saying what we think. We'll see how long that lasts, because we go online, don't we? Fingers crossed.
No, I'm just joking. We can still talk.
Right.
We'll have time. Go for it, Neil.
Yes, plenty more, and it's all worth waiting for as well. We're going to hear how fragments of the Chelyabinsk meteor have ended up taking pride of place in a museum in France.
Also going to hear about a Soviet tank that's been found buried in Israel, out of all places.
Well, if you live at an airport, I guess that's what happens. Edward Snowden has withdrawn his request for asylum in Russia. It follows a statement by the Russian president that the fugitive whistleblower is welcome to stay only if he stops harming Washington.
Let's get the latest details, of course, from Primetime's Igor Piskunov. He knows the story best. Igor, good evening to you. It seems like Snowden's not the only person who's been living in an airport, so have you. So you know everything about what's going on. Igor, why has Snowden recalled his political asylum bid then?
Well, I know everything about Sheremetyevo Airport, that's for sure. Well, seriously speaking, earlier there were so many conflicting reports over whether or not Snowden had asked Russia for political asylum. And in fact, now we know that late on Sunday night, Snowden passed this envelope with a written request to a representative of Russia's foreign ministry via the legal expert of WikiLeaks, who's been accompanying Snowden allegedly throughout this entire time. And then he took the request back after he heard the conditions voiced by President Putin. And Vladimir Putin said that Moscow is not planning to extradite Snowden anywhere, or especially to the United States, and he could stay here in the country if he wanted, but then he'd have to stop working against Washington. We've also heard from the president's press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, who also said that Moscow sees Edward Snowden as a human rights activist and doesn't see it possible passing him over to the U.S., where they still actively use the death penalty.
It seems, Igor, that Snowden, well, I'm not going to say he's got a whiff of desperation, but he doesn't seem very picky as to where he's going to be living, because he's applied, as I understand, to 21 different countries for asylum. Has he had any positive responses so far?
The same envelope, which was passed over to the Russian diplomat late on Sunday, it also contained 20 request forms to other countries. And, well, right now 10 of them have already officially rejected, including Brazil and India, and 8 EU member states, including Spain and Germany. They say that under their rules, all applicants hoping to get political asylum there need to be on their territory. And, well, this is definitely not the case with Edward Snowden, who's been apparently this entire time inside the transit zone at Sheremetyevo Airport. However, Bolivia and Venezuela seem to be the two countries which are most likely to be ready to provide political asylum to the former NSA contractor. Earlier, RT's Spanish channel managed to speak with the leaders of both countries, and here's what they had to say about it.
Yes, why not? Of course, the situation is far from ideal. His case is constantly discussed on an international level. Bolivia is ready to give political asylum to the people who expose spying activities, so to speak.
This young man must be protected in terms of international and humanitarian law, because he's being pursued by the US, by its president, vice president, by the Secretary of State. Why is he being pursued? What kind of crime has he committed? Has he launched a missile or killed anyone? No, he hasn't. On the contrary, he's doing everything to prevent wars, to prevent any kind of illegal action against the whole world.
Both presidents also said that they still haven't officially received any requests for political asylum from Mr. Snowden. Ecuador became the first country where which he turned to looking for political asylum, and we've heard from the president of that country as well, and he said that under their rules, people wanting to get political asylum in Ecuador also have to be on their territory, either in their embassies or at least, in this case, on the territory of the Russian Federation. And since, well, once again, Edward Snowden is inside that transit zone, that they can't even start processing his request. In the meantime, Snowden's been in the transit zone for around a week now. He arrived from Hong Kong with an invalid American passport. Washington is still asking for his extradition, while he is still promising more revelations.
He's promising those revelations, but while the world is looking for him, has there been any new leaks from Snowden himself then?
Well, Snowden's latest revelations have been published recently in German media, and well, basically they already created a massive scandal in the relationship between the European Union and Washington, since Snowden claims that the National Security Agency in the U.S., he used to be a contractor working for that agency, and basically it's the NSA which is in the spotlight now of all of his revelations. So Snowden claims that the NSA listens to around 500 million of private phone conversations in Germany alone, not to mention other EU member states, also has bugged pretty much all EU government buildings, including its headquarters. And what's perhaps more interesting is that the NSA has graded the European Union in general as a third-rank partner in the same group with countries like China and Saudi Arabia, which are usually in the focus of most attention from American security services. Now, the reaction from European officials has already been pretty much outrage. They've been comparing the situation to Cold War era tactics. Some have been saying that if these reports are true, then this would be a significant blow to the relations between Brussels and Washington. And, well, the other thing is that currently they're working on the next trade agreement between the EU and the US, worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And while these latest revelations may be a serious problem for that as well.
Okay, thanks so much for the update. That's our correspondent Yegor Piskunov reporting.
Thank you. Meanwhile, the Moscow Metro wants to create a loyalty scheme. It's going to conduct a survey to find out the kinds of gifts that would interest Muscovites and motivate them to collect points. Among the gifts being proposed are souvenirs with the Metro logo, invitations to special events, Metro tickets valid for 1 month, and plane tickets. But some are sceptical about the initiative. They say a loyalty scheme will just lead to fare increases. And they say the money would be put to better use if it was invested into improving the quality of the underground. Right now, only 20% of metro carriages have air conditioning, for example. And it's painful in summer.
Yeah, because it's always really busy and hot and stinky in there.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it, the point that was made in the video there. I'd probably go along with that. Do we really need it? Why not just focus on doing a good job with the Metro? I mean, who's going to say, oh, there's an incentive scheme, I'm going to take the Metro today because I might get some free
I absolutely agree. We get enough of that. It's a little bit of an aggressive marketing scheme as well. You get that in supermarkets a lot. There's too much of it.
I mean, I can understand it. You know, you're in a supermarket and there might be 5 products very similar in front of you. Fair enough, an incentive could make the difference in your choice. But when you're talking about taking the Metro, or what are your alternatives? Going by a car, which most people probably not got, walking, I mean, bicycle, there just aren't alternatives. So.
Do they need to advertise? It's overcrowded as it is, face it. I mean, these things are really needed if you're trying to attract clients. I think the Metro doesn't face a problem with that at all. They should be investing this money into other things. Yes,
I'd have to go with the sceptics on this one. I'm not quite sure what they're trying to get out of it. Maybe a little bit more income. But
on board with you there.
Back to an old favourite story of ours, the Chelyabinsk meteorite, of which fragments have now been given to the Natural History Museum in Paris. The museum's collection of meteorite fragments is one of the oldest in the world, contains more than 4,000 specimens. The director of the museum says the Chelyabinsk meteorite will be given pride of place in the collection. The meteorite struck mid-February of this year, creating a sensation around the globe.
And in the past, People in Vladivostok preferred to go to Korea or Singapore for surgery, but it's hoped that all of that is about to change. A state-of-the-art medical facility has just been opened on Ruski's island.
The new clinic includes a robot called Da Vinci. He's a multi-million-dollar machine that can perform almost any type of surgery. Primetime's Alexei Yaroshevsky, well, he didn't go under the knife, but he was at the grand opening.
This pepper is the first patient of a new medical center in Russia's Far East. It resembles a human heart, and doctors used it to demonstrate what the cutting-edge equipment here can do. And in just a few months, the new clinic will open its doors to real patients.
Americans, Koreans I met today, they say they were just astonished. They didn't expect to see that quality, high quality center here, and just, you know, here it was needed. People normally they're traveling to Korea or Singapore for medical treatment, and sometimes even to Israel if they go to Europe, sometimes across Pacific to the United States. But now they can stay here, they can leave their money here in this region.
The new clinic is a part of the Far Eastern Federal University, a project that sprung up ahead of last year's APEC summit. Just a few years ago, Ruski Island was a wilderness. Now it houses one of the most advanced medical facilities in Russia, which surprisingly enough did not consume a lot of state budget money.
Even with all the equipment, the cost was just 107,000 rubles per square meter, despite the fact there weren't even any bridges here when we started construction, so that all the materials had to be shipped onto the island by boat. So it's a record-breaking project in terms of the money spent for this level of quality.
The center is packed with most up-to-date equipment, some of which is reminiscent of Hollywood blockbusters.
One of the prized assets of the new medical center is this fella called the Da Vinci robot. It's worth almost $1 million, and it's only the second of its type in the whole of Russia. It can perform a surgery of just about any type and any complexity.
Doctors mostly from Moscow and St. Petersburg just cannot wait to get started with all the opportunities the new center will be able to provide. Most known diseases will be treated more effectively.
This surgery department is totally unique, because from here we can hold live conferences with our colleagues anywhere in the world. For example, if we have a difficult case, our colleagues can give their opinions via live video stream.
One might think that this clinic will deal only with VIP patients, but the people behind it promise it will be available to everyone with free state medical insurance, which means every Russian citizen. The clinic is expected to be fully operational by the end of this year. Alexei Yaroshevsky, RT, reporting from Vladivostok.
4 artillery guns from the Second World War have been airlifted down Mount Elbrus by helicopter. They will now be restored and displayed in the Battle of Stalingrad Museum. Teams had some difficulty in recovering the guns as Mount Elbrus is covered in heavy snow. The guns weigh dozens of kilograms each and had to be carried hundreds of meters to a place where it was safe for the chopper to land. They were discovered last autumn and are believed to have been used in the Battle of the Caucasus, in which more than 340,000 people lost their lives.
Okay, this is lovely because I'm about to bring you a story and I've not brought any of the information with me, but we'll have to do this by memory. Right, we're going to Israel, where a Russian tank, a T-34 tank, has been found.
We've already saw the image. It's fascinating. There it is. I think we can look at it right now.
Yeah, let's have another go. Can we get it on screen?
There it is. Aha!
Oh, there we go. Right, yeah, it might not be so strange to find a Russian tank in a foreign country. Israel, you might be questioning. The strange thing, I suppose, was it was found buried under the ground and quite deep underground, as you can tell there. It's an old Soviet tank. We're going back many, many decades. Now, the theory behind it all is that, that the Soviet Union used to provide tanks to several Arab countries. And there were several conflicts, of course.
So the idea is that this is before Israel was even established?
No, I think this was Arab countries that were fighting against Israel just after they'd been formed. They were busy in conflicts. So, I mean, there were basically struggles in that area in the 60s and in the 70s. And I think Egypt in particular received about 400 of these T-34 tanks. And all in all, around 300 have actually been found in Israel. As I say, they've got a sort of strong history of conflict and a fairly short existence.
How odd! What do you call these things that go round?
I would call them the tracks, yeah. This particular tank
was seems like it didn't have them.
This particular tank was found missing its tracks and its turret, although I suppose that's perhaps forgivable. It's obviously seen combat and action to be so far underground, but one of those that had just been missing for a very long time, finally, literally, unearthed.
Very interesting.
So it's seen,
wonder what they're going to do with it.
Seen some interesting times, that thing.
Digging up old battle ammunition. That's what people are up to, and it's what happens when wars occur. Bad. Thank you, Neil. You, viewers, thank you for staying with us as well. It's 14 minutes into the hour, which leaves us with another 20 minutes of good stuff. Here's what we are going to be delivering. We're going to find out what's new and interesting on Moscow's social scene, and that's coming up in our Going Out edition.
And we'll take a trip down memory lane as we check out a photographic archive of 20th century Moscow.
I really love those. I always go very nostalgic and I start loving the city once again. Every single time.
But it's how it used to be, not how it is anymore. That's what
it doesn't matter. It's like that in my heart.
Yes, in your mind. In your memory.
In my mind.
Yes.
So here and here. Anyway, a new exhibition called Moscow Stories Part 2 is underway at the Lumiere Brothers Center for Photography. It's the final part of a major project reflecting the life of Moscow over the last 100 years, actually.
It covers the events that shaped the city. Well, they'd already done an exhibition on the first half of the century, and this one is from the 1960s to the end of the 1990s. It features works by 50 leading photographers, and among them is the Soviet photographer Yakov Khalep. I talked to the son of the renowned cameraman Nikolai Khalep and the curator of the exhibition, Yana Iskavova. Let's take a look. Yana, Nikolai, thanks so much for coming in to talk to me. Moscow's story sounds absolutely fascinating. I mean, almost like a kind of a little trip through the history of the city and indeed the country. Start by talking to you, Yana, because you're the curator. You put this together. What exactly are we dealing with here? Is this basically the biggest events to have taken place in the second half of the 20th century?
Well, the exhibition is really versatile. It's not chronicle. We try to look at the city and how city was reflected in the events and how it transformed during some great events in our country. So, for example, you can see the joy of people in Red Square, the people greeting the first cosmonauts, and the monuments that were built and changed the face of the city and the architecture of the city. For example, the monument on Leninsky Prospect and also at the All Exhibition Center within her.
And Nikolai, of the 50 photographers I understand are being displayed here, your father is one of them, and he was an exceptional photographer. Just tell me a little bit more about him.
Well, he started his work as a photographer back in late 20s. In 30s, you know, he worked for one of the biggest Soviet illustrated magazines.
And his name was Yakov Khalep.
Yakov Khalep.
For anybody who doesn't know, but it's a very recognizable name in the world of photography.
Well, if you click, you know, in the web, you know, and for his name, you know, you will find a lot of references to to many of his photos, which are being offered at different auctions. All his life, you know, he devoted to this work, to photography, and worked mostly for big illustrated magazines, which, as you can understand, you know, during the Soviet period, you know, they were kind of windows to the Soviet way of life, and their work, their job was to dress this window properly, you know. This is what he was doing, which was not always very easy, you know. For instance, you know, one of the turning points in his career was when in 1938 he was, it wasn't easy to get there, but he became a member of the expedition which saved the first Soviet polar expedition, which was drifting on the North Pole 1, it was called. Well, there's a lot of interesting detail around this expedition and what happened after that. You know, like, you know, it helped him to get acquainted with the our leader of that time, Mr. Joseph Stalin.
And I've been looking through some of the photographs that you know, I guess you've supplied for this exhibition.
Yeah.
Well, they are absolutely beautiful, and they give you a wonderful window into life in that time. I just wondered though, Jana, how difficult was it for you to get these negatives? Because you know you've got Nikolai helping out, but I mean, how easy was it to get the rest of them?
Well, it's also a challenging task. We searched for 2 years because the first exhibition, the first part, was back in 2011, and during that time we tried to find the most expressive images we could. So that's a really difficult process. Also, the difficult thing is that we tried to cover both the Soviet period and the first 10 years of non-Soviet, post-Soviet period, and so. Basically, we can say that there are two exhibitions in one exhibition because the photography of the 90s differs drastically from what we had in the Soviet era, but we tried also to make it complete whole with the help of the narrative and the high quality of every piece of photography.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating because it's just a wonderful kind of trip through history. There's some beautiful work to look at as well, and it's nice and cheap as well. It's just a few hundred rubles, as I understand, for people to get in. And every opportunity, the exhibition's already underway, and it's on until when? September?
8th of September.
8th of September, so plenty of time for people to go along. I hope they will watch this interview and be inspired to go along and do exactly that and enjoy it while it's there. Jana, Nikolai, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Jana, I just want to add that I totally butchered Jana's name there. Jana Iskarkova, I believe.
Yeah.
I made a real mess.
But it's always difficult when you've got two consonants that are the same close together. So, Jana, we apologise, all of us. But to make things slightly better for everyone, let's talk about wonderful things that can be done in the city, entertainment-wise, because Elmira Kuznetsova is with us in the studio. It's good to see you. What's going on, what's fun, what's interesting, and what should we be doing instead of working?
Hello, guys.
Hi.
It's a pretty alternative guide tonight as well.
Alternative? Does that mean you're struggling?
No.
Wrestling around.
Alternative is such a vague thing to say. What do you mean alternative?
What have you cooked for dinner? Something alternative. Oh dear. Okay.
No.
Your grandmother.
No. Basically, because we've covered the photography already, we all already know what's going on, you know, movie-wise and music-wise. We'll actually talk about the Hipster Cup Festival, which will take place at the Flacon Design Center this Saturday. The event will include dozens of the activities and competitions organized by and for hipsters only. I'm sure ordinary participants are welcome to join as well. The list includes hipster glass throwing, coffee cup bowling, canvas tote bag sack racing, as well as beard gluing, DJ fighting, and skinny jeans tug of war. Entrance is free of charge, and teams can register online at hipstercup.com/Moskva. The Flacon Center is located near Dmitrovsky Metro.
I think it's hilarious. It's really funny. It's a great space as well. If you haven't been there, you should all guys go because it's massively evolved throughout the years. It's not too central, and that's...
It looks good. Shopping is nice.
Great shops,
food,
nice cafes, and really, really nice events. And they have a swimming pool, you lot. So one to check out. And I think that's very sweet and sort of self-ironic of them because, indeed, the place is run by and... enjoyed by a lot of hipsters.
You can call it ironic, all sounds pretty stupid to me, but hey, I'm not going to stop you advertising it. And people want to go, they want to go. Oh, it sounds a bit kind of childish to me.
No, sometimes it's all right to feel stupid about yourself or make, fun of yourself. Just
hang on. You like air guitar, but you don't like that?
Yeah, and you're trying to compare the two. Air guitar's a serious business.
Absolutely. No, so is
It's been around for centuries. It's got history. This is just like some kind of new silliness. No, don't even compare.
Hipsters is a contemporary history.
Exactly, it's a short history.
I'm giving you the stare of shame right now, if the camera could show me.
There's air guitarists out there shouting at the screen going, go on Neil, go on. You're so right.
We'll meet in
stare of shame again.
Move on, quickly.
Okay.
Before I burn him with my eyes.
Okay, a French-Russian festival of contemporary culture will be held on Saturday, not far from Moscow. The Nikolai Lenivets open-air art park in Kaluga region will host the event, which will feature land art, sky art, and a theatre show. Titled Babur, or Bobur, The event gets its name from a large art object. The wood installation itself is named after a Paris district where the famous Georges Pompidou Contemporary Art Center is located. The structure is made of metal and birch tree branches. It's 22 meters high, and you can climb on top of it to enjoy the view of the surrounding area with many other interesting architectural objects. To get to the festival, you can either take a shuttle bus, a train, or drive 150 kilometers on Kievska Chaussee.
Now, you're a personal fan of that place because you recently went to another festival. It was sort of...
like a new media night,
New Media Night,
and we can actually look at the object that's going to be presented there, which looks pretty crazy, I think.
Yeah, these are Palisky's objects, aren't they?
Yes, and he's sort of the curator of the whole place, but I think now it's an even bigger team of artists, and yes, I went there a couple of weeks ago. It's amazing. It's so well organized because there are showers. There is a cafe even run by the Ragu.
Oh, great.
Showers, did you say?
Yes, there are
showers. What are you going to be doing there that you need a shower?
Well, it's quite far away, so you usually go there and camp for a couple of days.
Oh, right.
And also you can rent a tent, so the tent's already, set up for you, so you just go, pick a place that you like, and...
So it's actually really easy. Is it easy to get there as well?
Well, it's about 3 hours on a bus. When we went there, the bus driver, he got lost in the wheel a bit.
I guess if you're going to travel 3 hours to get somewhere, then you might as well stay the weekend and make a real
it's so worth
event
it
of it.
because it's beautiful, the nature is really nice, and those objects, they just feel so natural there. And also you can climb every object.
Would you recommend this for a sort of a relaxing weekend away? Would you, find peace and harmony and a little cultural inspiration?
It's family friendly. Well, last time I was there, it wasn't very packed. So you can, and also it's, I think a good probably 3 or 4 square kilometers wide.
Now you're selling it to me. This sounds quite pleasant.
I'm actually selling something to you.
You are. It's free.
It's a stable-hour show, I think.
Still, part of me is going, it's a 3-hour journey. The other's going peaceful and pleasant and get away from the hub of the city.
Calm.
And nature. A lot of nature. The Kaluga region is fantastic.
And also the place is quite historic as well, because you might not know that, but the Tatar-Mongol invasion.
Oh yeah, I know.
And there was this great standoff between the Tatar-Mongol hordes, yes, and the Russian troops at the bank of the river that is just crossing that village.
So plenty of history.
Interesting.
Yes,
okay, throw in some free food and you've sold me. I'll go.
Okay. Free food?
Free food only exists in mousetraps.
Okay, actually I know a place we can get free food.
Tell us.
In your fridge? Where?
No, if only my fridge was so fancy. But Moscow's famous GUM department store is celebrating its 120th anniversary. Tomorrow, the store visitors will be treated to 20 tons of ice cream. GUM's ice cream in a wafer cup is as legendary as the shopping mecca in Red Square itself, and there are 3 flavors: plain cream, chocolate and creme brulee. The ice cream will be given out for free from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m.
That's tomorrow morning.
Are you happy now?
I am. That was my pure chance. I didn't know that story was coming up. I'm very happy now.
Listen, now I want you to bring us alternative stories every day, because this was so good. This was up both of our streets, made us very happy, and hopefully our viewers as well. If you guys feel that you need a recap of anything, primetime@rttv.ru is our email address. Make sure that you mention that you want to talk to Elmira Kuzitsova about something, and she will reply.
Sure will.
You look thrilled about that, don't you?
Of course.
You're now taking over the email responsibilities.
No, remember you have to chat about fans, taking fans with you.
Is that on already? Good heavens. Is that it? I'm shocked. We do have a YouTube site as well. What's on it? Videos, I guess.
Lots of things. Videos from years back and some more recent ones.
And, of course, we're also on Twitter and Facebook, which Anya takes personal responsibility for.
I really don't. Don't lie. We all do. But before we go, I have something that I want to show you.
No. You see, I thought there was something amiss. I thought they were a little bit early to finish it. There's something missing. Got my finger on it now.
All right, yes.
Is it alternative?
It's super alternative, guys. It's something that I wanted to show you. Let's have a look. Look at this guy. He represents the way Russians see death.
Holding a cigarette.
He's meant to be holding something else, but he isn't. There he goes. He's holding that thing, which I forgot what it's called in English.
Sickle, I would guess.
Sickle, exactly.
Scythe, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to argue about that one.
This video is one of those brilliant YouTube videos that sort of out there for the world to see. It's really long. It's 3 minutes 50. And it's just this guy crossing pedestrian crossings to different kinds of music. Okay, anyway, dudes from Tobolsk decided that they would put this video together in order to raise awareness of drivers not stopping in front of pedestrian crossings and actually killing lots of pedestrians as they go. It's not too successful. Lots of the comments on YouTube were pensive. People were sort of asking, what is this all about? Because it doesn't really have a clear message. In the end, the death sits down and starts smoking, and when asked...
Which is ironic, isn't it? He's probably going to die.
When asked, the guys actually said that their next video is going to be about health risks of smoking.
Well,
my hope is that it's just going to be shorter, because 350 is a bit too much. It's a good idea that I think needs a little bit more work, but it's nice to see that the incentive has been taken into the hands of people living in Tobolsk, and they feel that this is an issue that should be taken care of. So especially pedestrian crossings with no lights are a massive issue, not only in Moscow, as you can see, but all over Russia.
Yeah, no, they're really dangerous pedestrian crossings in Moscow. I was going to add, I'm pretty sure that's a side. I think the sickle's more rounded. And all they need to do is re-release that particular video with his smoking in it so much. That's the perfect anti-smoking video.
So they don't really need to do anything new?
No, just rebrand.
Great.
He's already got it.
Right, goodbye.
Ciao.